All right, you know me, I'm obsessed about officials. Mm-hmm. I'm obsessed about officials in NFL games. So I'm going to kind of walk you through what I know about Land Clark. Yes, that's his name.
Land Clark.
Land Clark. L-A-N-D. Clark.
I've never met a Land before.
Me either.
That isn't, you think it's short?
I know a Terrain.
Oh, there you
First
go.
name Terrain?
Yeah.
I would rather be named Terrain than Land,
Yeah.
I think.
I would, yeah. Yeah, there's some gravitas behind Terrain.
Land short for Landon, maybe?
I think you just
Is there
stick with
anything
the
else
und on there. You know, like if you're Landon, I think you're just Landon. I don't know that you pivot to full-time Land. Maybe like on weekends and things, you go a little Land.
We'll
But
just shake it up.
to go full-time Land, from a business standpoint, I think you want that ON on the back end of
I think
Land.
so, too.
So
I guess if you're an NFL official, you could just go with Land. You know, just be Land.
Hey,
why not?
Land Clark. I'll never forget his name.
Land Clark.
I'm more of a C guy myself.
Land Clark is he's officiated 5 games this year. 69 penalties,
Nice.
637 yards in your 5 games. Visitors have been assessed 37 of those penalties for 315. Home 32 for 322.
Uh-oh.
So he's 5 penalties.
A little home cooking. Just a touch of that home cooking.
Maybe gets a little influenced by the crowd.
Which is a good news
but
situation tonight.
It could be because it'll be very pro-Cowboy crowd tonight. So that might help Land. He might get confused and forget what stadium he's in. And it's like he starts to help the Cowboys. But here's kind of a breakdown of his major penalties that he struggles with or he calls. Offensive holding, 14 of those.
Well, I hope he's all eyes on Micah Parsons tonight.
How much do you think Micah Parsons is going to play rush in tonight?
I would say at least in obvious passing situations.
Yeah, I think still 80% of the time at least.
But you asking that question makes me think you might be a little off ball action.
Just curious, man. I think you're right about the passing situations, but I think we're going to see him, and that's why I think him and Damone Clark need to be big.
I mean, what other? I mean, I think you kind of have to.
Yeah. Land Clark, they also call unnecessary roughness. 7 of these. I'm going to tie this back to the Chargers here in a minute. Unnecessary roughness, 7. Defensive pass interference, 6.
Okay.
Defensive holding, 4. Illegal contact, 3. How is breakdowns by crew or by position? 22 penalties against defensive backs. 18 penalties against offensive line. 7 penalties against the defensive line. 5 linebackers. 5 wide receivers. Okay? That's Land Clark. That's what he gives you. Let me tell you about the Chargers and what they do. Chargers' most prevalent penalty that they have, believe it or not, they're not a very high penalized team, by the way, but they've also played on a bye. Their bye last week. So, but they're not a very high penalized team. Unnecessary roughness is their main, that and offensive holding. They have 4 each in this game. All right. So you got unnecessary roughness. That's a big one for the Chargers. That's a big call it's the second most for Land Clark's crew. So if the game gets a little chippy or maybe there's somebody a little late, Chargers seem to be a team that's not afraid to be around the ball, be late and all that. Maybe the Cowboys could catch a break with that unnecessary roughness call. 4 in 5 games for them.
I'm just glad this guy doesn't really call defense, offsides that much. That might be extremely good news for the Cowboys.
It might
tonight.
be very good news for the Cowboys. Offensive holding is 4. Defensive, this is about the Chargers. Defensive pass interference is 3. Roughing the passer, 2 for the Chargers.
Looking at you, Sam Williams.
Yeah, looking at you, Sam.
I can't help myself. It's just like immediately my eyeballs go to Sam in the meeting when they talk about roughing, just unsportsmanlike things.
Yeah. All right. The 2 most penalized players for the Chargers are Michael Davis, their cornerback. He's had 2 defensive holding penalties, 2 defensive pass interference penalties, and 1 illegal use of hands. That's the cornerback.
That's the mark right there.
Is he going to go all Lenore on us where he wakes up on Monday Night Football and actually becomes a shutdown beast?
That's what scares me the most about when I talk about guys you should attack. and it's Colton McKivitz, the right tackle for San Francisco, and he blocks like he's Rayfield Wright out there for the whole game.
There was a point where I thought Jonathan Ogden was reincarnated as a right tackle. Just for a few moments last week.
Just for McKivitz.
And then yesterday got his butt whooped.
Everybody that's played against McKivitz has had success except the Cowboys.
That's right.
Everybody. But here it is, cornerback Michael Davis. He plays opposite Asante Samuel Jr.
And he's now having to start because of the J.C. Jackson trade.
Right. So keep an eye on Michael Davis as a penalty guy. Now, here's an interesting one. Left tackle Rashawn Slater has penalty calls against him. He's got 2 holding calls. So you figure a guy that is a guy that is established and talented as him. We talked about it last week in the breakdown a little bit, that he's a guy that struggled with being able to control some of the guys he's dealt with. And that's going to be off the Cowboys' right side of the defensive line, his left side of the offense. So how you attack these 2 offensive tackles for the Chargers might go a long way of how you're able to get pressure on Herbert, the quarterback, because Slater has had some problems, and it's I didn't think watching the tape that was going to be the case. I thought it was always going to be on the right side, but they've had a little bit of some problems on the left and the right side of their offensive line with those tackles. So let's see if the Cowboys, in fact, when they drop back to pass, can create some problems, though, for this Charger blocking unit. But, yes, once again, to finish up, Land Clark, you're official, and 69 penalties in 5 games. Let's see if he's quiet in this game. I doubt he will be.